If you ask someone to picture schoolyard conflict, they usually imagine shouting or shoving. But peer-to-peer violence has changed. Today, significant harm occurs in rooms that appear entirely peaceful. Because there are no loud arguments or visible scuffles, the adults in the room, teachers and parents, lack the traditional triggers to look up and intervene. In these moments, psychological damage is inflicted while the physical environment remains undisturbed. The conflict is happening entirely on the screen, leaving the surrounding air silent. Since these attacks leave no physical marks, protecting students requires a different approach. We have to look for behavioral shadows, the subtle, real-world changes that follow a digital attack. Think was a typical classroom. A student is suddenly removed from a primary group chat. The people who did it are sitting only a few feet away, tapping on their phones while sharing the same physical space as their target. If confronted, those responsible often claim they were only joking. This excuse provides a convenient cover, allowing the behavior to escalate without the perpetrators acknowledging the damage they are causing. Because the victim often remains still, trying to process the rejection, a teacher scanning the room sees nothing out of the ordinary. This lack of an immediate, visible reaction masks a targeted emotional attack from anyone observing. This diagram maps the three specific mechanics that drive digital harm: exclusion, rumors, and harassment. In a world where socialization happens in group chats, being deliberately cut off isolates a student from their entire peer group. Then come rumors. Digital platforms allow unverified stories to replicate instantly, stripping a student's ability to defend their reputation. Finally, digital harassment creates a cycle of repeated hostile messages reaching into the home, targeting the student even in their bedroom. These three tactics are rarely isolated. They work together as an interconnected system designed to keep a target isolated and exhausted at all hours of the day. Eventually, the internal pressure from these digital attacks forces a change in a student's outward physical behavior. The most common sign is withdrawal. A previously active student suddenly stops joining group activities, avoids online classes, and becomes unusually quiet in person. You may also notice a physical reaction to their phone. Watch for a student who seems anxious, distracted, or upset immediately after a notification. They may express distress through specific comments, such as saying they no longer want to attend school or claiming everyone is talking about them. These behavioral changes are often the only visible indicators of online violence. Recognizing them is a critical responsibility for every teacher and peer. Digital harassment relies on the rest of the group to stay quiet. It needs the invisibility of the screen and the compliance of the people watching the thread to keep its momentum. You can interrupt that momentum by choosing to pause. Before you laugh, forward a post, or add a comment, step back and refuse to participate in the thread. Once you stop the spread, take the next step. Check the facts of the situation and reach out privately to the student being targeted. Breaking that isolation can change the entire dynamic of the situation. In a digital network, remaining a silent observer gives the harassment more power. Choosing not to act makes you a functional part of the system that allows the abuse to continue. The final step is to move the conflict into the open. Save screenshots of the behavior and share the evidence with a trusted teacher, counselor, or school authority. Reporting these patterns creates a protective barrier for the victim. It ensures that the situation is documented and that adults can take the necessary steps to stop the harm. A safe school isn't created by software or filters. It is built by a community that chooses to recognize these hidden patterns and disrupt them before they take root.